It was just past midnight. A cold wind blew through the empty streets of San Francisco, rattling the leaves along the sidewalk. Chris Gardner tightened his grip around the small, fragile body of his son. They were sitting on the floor of a public restroom in a subway station, the only shelter they could find that night. Chris locked the door from the inside, his back against the wall, his knees pulled in tight, his son, sleeping in his lap, wrapped in the only coat they owned. The world outside didn't know, didn't care, and frankly had moved on. This was rock bottom, but it was also the beginning. You see, before Chris Gardner became the man behind a multi-million-dollar brokerage firm, before Hollywood told his story, before Will Smith played him on the big screen, he was just a man. A man who refused to give up, a man who chased a dream with nothing but hope in his heart and a child in his arms. This is his story. Not the polished movie-friendly version, the real one, the one that hurts, inspires, and reminds you that your past does not define your future. A dreamer's struggle. Chris Gardner didn't come from wealth. He was raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin by a single mother. His father was absent, his stepfather abusive. Violence and poverty were daily realities. But despite the chaos around him, Chris admired his mother's strength. She once told him, "You can do or be anything you want to be." That line stayed with him. Fast forward to his 20s. Chris had served in the Navy, worked various jobs, and ended up in San Francisco with big dreams and a young family. He invested all his savings into a line of portable bone dynamics scanners, believing he could sell them to hospitals. But the technology was ahead of its time, doctors didn't see the value, and sales were few and far between. As debts piled up, so did the tension at home. His relationship with his girlfriend Jackie started to fall apart. Bills went unpaid, rent was overdue, and one morning Jackie walked out, leaving Chris alone with their son, Christopher Jr. He had no plan, no money, but he had a child looking up to him, and that was enough. The turning point. One afternoon, while walking through downtown San Francisco, Chris saw a man step out of a red Ferrari. Dressed sharp, confident, radiant with success, Chris couldn't help himself. He walked up and asked two questions. "What do you do, and how do you do it?" The man laughed. "I'm a stockbroker, and I'm good at it." That was it. Chris was captivated, not because of the car, but because of the confidence. The idea that someone could build a life through learning, communication, and grit. Not inherited money. Chris began studying everything he could about the stock market. He called firms, asked questions, and eventually landed an interview with Dean Witter Reynolds, a brokerage firm that offered training programs. The catch? It was unpaid. He took the risk. Life falls apart again. Just as things seemed to be heading in the right direction, life hit him hard. Chris was arrested, not for a crime, for unpaid parking tickets he couldn't afford. He spent 10 days in jail. When he got out, he had lost everything, his scanners, his savings, and his place to live. He showed up to his first day of training at Dean Witter wearing the only clothes he owned, a paint-stained jacket, worn-out shoes, and no tie. He had no excuses, just an apology and a determination to prove he belonged. During the day, he worked harder than everyone else in that program. He made more calls, asked more questions, studied longer. At night, he had nowhere to go. Shelters were full. Sometimes he got lucky. Other nights, he and his son would sleep in public parks, restrooms, or bus stations. He shielded his son from the worst parts of reality. Chris never let the boy see him cry, even when it hurt the most. Every day, Chris woke up with one mission: to survive and succeed. Because failure wasn't just personal, it would cost his son a future. Chris had a gift he could sell. His natural empathy, voice, and persistence made him one of the top interns at Dean Witter. But the job wasn't guaranteed. Only 1 or 2 trainees would be hired. While others had comfort, Chris had desperation. He skipped lunch breaks to make more calls. He stayed late. He memorized scripts, read finance books in the library, and taught himself to handle rejection like a pro. He was hungry, literally and metaphorically. Then the moment came. His manager called him in and said, "We're bringing you on full time." Chris didn't cry. He just smiled, shook his hand, and walked outside. On the sidewalk, he hugged his son tightly. That night, they didn't sleep on a restroom floor. They had a warm meal and a safe place to lay their heads. That was the beginning. Years passed. Chris kept climbing. He moved from Dean Witter to Bear Stearns and quickly built a reputation as a top-performing stockbroker. Clients loved his honesty. Colleagues admired his resilience. But Chris had bigger plans. In 1987, he founded his own brokerage firm, Gardner, Rich & Co. He started with $10,000, 0 cents, and a dream. The firm grew fast. Chris began making millions. He reinvested in his community, supported single-parent programs, and became a speaker for perseverance and personal growth. His story caught attention. He was invited to the White House. He met with CEOs, athletes, and leaders around the world. But Chris remained grounded. He never forgot the pain, the floors, the restrooms, or the hunger. Then came Hollywood. Will Smith approached him about telling his story. Chris agreed, but only if they kept it real. The result, the pursuit of happiness, it became a global phenomenon. Chris Gardner's story isn't just about success. It's about the fight. It's about what happens when life strips you bare and you keep standing. It's about raising a child without money but with immeasurable love. It's about showing up to interviews in worn clothes but with unshakable spirit. It's about the belief that no matter how far you fall, there's a way back up. Chris once said, "The world is your oyster. It's up to you to find the pearls." He found his, and you can find yours. If you're watching this and you're struggling, know this: you're not broken. What you're becoming. Hard times, they'll pass. Big dreams, they're worth chasing. You just have to keep moving. Today, Chris Gardner is not just a millionaire. He's a father, a philanthropist, a mentor. He travels the world helping people believe in themselves again. And when people ask him, what was the moment everything changed? He doesn't say it was the job offer or the millions. He says it was the night in the restroom, because it was in that moment, surrounded by nothing, that he realized he had everything that mattered: love, purpose, and fight. That's what made him rich. And that is why this story matters. If this story moved you, share it. Someone out there needs to hear this. Someone is sitting in their own restroom moment right now, and your share might be the light they need. This is more than a story, it's a spark. Pass it on. And remember, the pursuit of happiness isn't a destination. It's a choice. Every day, keep going. You've got this.